Hey everybody, this is Doomhammer with an update here in week 9. So we'll look at the first Thursday night football game here, and the first game of this week on Thursday night football. We have the Vikings falling in a tight loss to the Green Bay Packers. We see Stafford with 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception, whereas Griffin had 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Very pathetic running game from Minnesota. And then 113 yards by LeSean McCoy. So the Vikings are 4-4, Packers 3-6. Then the Commanders find a way to defeat the Indianapolis Colts. Both teams are 4th place in their division. Quinn with 229 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Vic with almost more rushing yards than passing yards, only 118, but he got it done with his leg. 1 touchdown in the air, 3 on the ground. And then Chris Johnson had 98 yards, Quinn with 1 rushing touchdown, just not enough to come away with the victory. Then you got the Philadelphia Eagles, 14-35 for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a huge win for them in this division that is very competitive. They are probably on track for the best season they've had in my entire franchise. They just have to, or I guess they did have a 10-win season the one time, but they could be on track for a playoff berth this year. We see Wilson with 4 touchdowns, Peterson with the 1 rushing, McNabb having 3 interceptions, a major challenge for the Eagles in this game. Then we have the Houston Texans with 22-21 victory over the Giants. This was a very important win for the Giants that they failed to receive, especially with the Dallas Cowboys getting that win over Philly. Sanchez with 263 yards in the victory for the Texans. They kind of came away with that 2-point conversion to win the game late. And then we got the Chiefs falling to the Tennessee Titans. And this is where O'Connell got hurt, and so Whedon came in to finish the game, and he got 2 interceptions thrown. Tavares Jackson and the Titans had no issue against the Chiefs. And this was a disappointing game because Kevin O'Connell used to play for the Titans. That was his team he made the playoffs with, so O'Connell was looking to have a strong game against them, and unfortunately fell to an injury. I believe he's out for the rest of the season. So he had like a 7 weeks, so he's on injured reserve. The Chiefs did sign Matt Castle to potentially replace him as a starting quarterback, since Whedon is pretty bad. He hasn't had a very good year, and so we'll see what happens there. But Titans continue their strong season, 8-1. Then you got the Dolphins just pounding the Browns. 291 yards for Newton. We can see Johnson Jr. with 134 yards, so a good game from him. We see McKnight, Forte splitting about 68 yards apiece. Browns having absolutely nothing working for them. They fall. They do get a touchdown, but that's about it. Then you got the Ravens falling to the Steelers. So the Steelers at 4-5 still lead the division with a less than 500 record, and the Ravens fall to only 2 wins and 6 losses. Eli Manning trying to get a win with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see if he's able to do that sometime this year. Then you got running back by committee here in Pittsburgh, Ray Rice with 34 yards. Then we got the Bengals who get a win here. So this is the first game where they have Derek Anderson coming in as with a new coach. So John Harbaugh was fired last week, and so now they have Johnny. Oh man, his name is slipping my mind. They've got their new coach, their defensive coordinator, and he has got the Bengals their first win this season. We see Anderson with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 254 yards. Joe Flacco with 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Tough loss for them because this was a game they wanted to come through and go 5-4 in the season, but the Bengals were able to get their winless season snapped. So they might go 1-16 or 1-15, but it's 1-16. That's right. But we'll see if they're able to pull off another win here this season. Seattle falls to the Jets. No surprise here. Jets are doing well under Chip Kelly. We see 379 yards, 3 touchdowns for Alex Smith, with Percy Harvin, Wes Welker getting the bulk of those receptions. Portis with 93 yards. We see the Seahawks doing pretty well with Glennon. I mean, we see 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. Josh Morgan really taking the bulk of the receptions and the yards. And then Lynch and Pettigrew with the touchdowns. But not much of a running game for Seattle. They fall 2-6. Then the Buffalo Bills beat the Patriots. I don't know what's going on with New England, but they're just not doing it this year. They still, I mean, anything can happen. Right now we're, week 9. There's a lot that can happen that the Patriots can get back in the playoffs. They're at 500, but this is not the season I thought they'd have. Buffalo winning both matchups. They're 2-0 against the Patriots this year with Tim Tebow, who I can't believe is leading the Bills to a 5-4 season. But here we are. Then continuing on, we've got the Chargers getting blown out by the Raiders, who are 6-3 and lead the AFC West. Matt Ryan with 5 passing touchdowns, 375 yards. I would say, I don't think he is leading the MVP race. I think it was Tavares Jackson. But I would not be surprised if Matt Ryan, with the season he has right now, 2,400 yards, 26-11 touchdowns, interceptions, he's been having a fantastic season. I would not be surprised if he's in the hunt for MVP, especially if he has more games like this. Rodgers, you can see 141 yards, pathetic performance out of him. Julio Jones with 275 yards, that's insane. And he is definitely putting his hat in the ring for the best receiver of the season. Then you got Detroit, who come away with their 3rd win of the year, defeating the Saints. At some point, the Saints are probably going to give up on the year and just throw Geno Smith in as quarterback. But Byron Leftwich has been a decent game manager for them, and that transition quarterback. We see Reggie Bush, 78 yards, 26 for Isaiah Pead. Greg Olson's been getting more catches this season, so that's good for him. Then a really sloppy game by both teams. But we have the Atlanta Falcons with 14, Denver Broncos with 8. Peyton Manning comes away with not the best victory, but we have Fitzgerald with 143 yards. Good game for him. But not a very dominant victory for the Falcons, but a win is a win. And then since the bye week, the Buccaneers were 5-0, and now they're 0-3. So they haven't won a game since their bye. We see 3 interceptions by Gabbert, not good. 3 interceptions by Luck, not good, but he at least was able to come through with more points than the Buccaneers, so the Rams triumph over the Bucs. When looking at the standings, we see the Jets and the Dolphins look to be the teams to beat. 7-2 there with both very competitive. The team to beat is the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if they're fakers or if they're really the best team, but we got basically the Jets, the Dolphins, the Titans, and Oakland is now moving their way as a contender, all division leaders here, with one of these teams being the top wild card seed. The Steelers are going to make not going to make the playoffs. Any of these 3 teams can make the playoffs with probably an under 500 record. And then for the other wild card spot, we see the Bills, we see the Texans kind of vying for that. The Chargers, Broncos, Jaguars, and Patriots could also slip into the playoffs too. So that's that last spot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So as of right now, the Jaguars are in, which is kind of a shock because Colt McCoy, I didn't expect them to be in contention. And they were like 0-3, and then they got like a 3-game win streak, and they started like losing here and there. So this is how the playoffs look so far. I think the Chargers and Patriots could probably get themselves over that edge to maybe being the 6th or 7th seed. But then we look at the NFC. We see the Eagles are ahead in the NFC East, and they're one of the top. And we've got the Falcons, we've got the Bears, the Eagles, top of the NFC. No clear frontrunner like the Titans are in the NFC. It's been a much more even battle. You got the NFC East here with the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, kind of more than likely the 5th and 6th seed. But then you got the Giants, the Vikings, Arizona, St. Louis, Carolina, all potential 7th seeds if they're able to fight it out. And then we look at the league. So the worst team is the Bengals, and the Chiefs, the Browns, Ravens, Seahawks, Saints. So I'm wondering too with the Bengals that they do have Osweiler, but he's not really the future. But there's so many bad players on the Bengals that I could take like a Blake Bortles or even go crazy and take Manziel or Bridgewater. But I have a feeling that Clowney's probably the best pick for number 1, no matter who's there, because the Bengals need a lot of talent. And maybe the Bengals, with their 2nd round pick, could take a David Carr or the Jimmy Garoppolo, and that might make more sense. Now, I guess they technically did that with Osweiler, a 2nd, 3rd round pick, and he didn't pan out. But we'll see if well, who's number one, because the Chiefs could fall to the number one spot, and we'll see if they decide to go defense or replace Whedon with one of those quarterbacks. But yeah, we look at the rankings. Titans number one, but we see offense here. The worst offense is Seattle. Best defense is San Francisco. And worst one is Philadelphia, which is a surprise. But they are also more of an offensive powerhouse. When looking at stats, we can see Matt Ryan is now leading the quarterbacks in passing with McNabb, Palmer, Smith, Jackson. Touchdowns, we see McNabb and Ryan leading the way. And Big Ben, Gabbert, Flacco, Tebow, Pryor lead with interceptions. Chris Johnson leads the running game. There's Ryan Matthews, Portis, McFadden, Bush. I think it's because they haven't had their bye week yet. Then we got Julio Jones leading the receivers. Harvin, Wallace, Deshaun Jackson, and Brad Smith. He's probably going to drop a little bit more as we have more, as Greg Jennings get more attention. Touchdowns, we see Julio, Calvin, Dez, Wallace, and Deshaun Jackson, along with Harvin, Fitzgerald. Again, I'm just going to flip through tackles, sacks. J.J. Watt now leading with 9.5 total. Interceptions, Ladarius Webb's got 6. Marshall with 5. Kicking here. So yeah, this is the update here in week 9. Hope you're enjoying these videos, these updates. We'll have more coming up in the upcoming weeks.